Simpiwe Makanya is also there. Simpiwe, I know that as per protocol, we've got, SAP's elements that are going to be incorporated into this funeral. But from your vantage point, various leaders have also come out. We obviously know the Premier is going to be speaking, the President himself delivering that eulogy. What else is happening?
Indeed, Lizel. In fact, those leaders have started trickling in here at the Siyabonga Sangweni Sports Field. And I'm not going to waste time because we do have with us ANC National Spokesperson Mahlengi Bhengu, who's going to just perhaps reflect on the life really of Ambassador Mthethwa. Thank you so much, Sis Mahlengi, for your time. During that memorial service which was held on Friday, you actually hailed him for being a pioneer in terms of offering lessons to the ANC Youth League at the time, and also offering his knowledge in terms of political education. Just how much of a loss is this for the African National Congress?
Quite a profound loss, and it almost feels surreal that today we come to send him off to his final resting place. Nathi, a son of the people of Kwambonambi, which is where he's being buried today, a son of Isizwe, Mthethwa, that commands a very illustrious lineage in the cultures, customs and traditions of the people of this part of the province. A brother in the struggle, a young person that dedicated his life and eschewed the joys of youth in order to form part of those people that decided to be dedicators to the freedom struggle. Organizing here in what was known as Northern Natal, which was a no-go area, where there was no freedom of political activity, contributing greatly to opening doors to that freedom of movement and the freedom of speech and assembly by the people of our land in this part of our country. And of course, as you would know, a companion of Peter Mukaba's generation in the African National Congress Youth League and its predecessor, the South African Youth Congress. And so prior to talking about him as an ambassador, prior to talking about him as a minister in various portfolios, what we do remember more profoundly, some of us who are part of a generation that came after them, is the amount of sacrifice that was done at that moment, being part of the peace-making process at a very difficult time in the history of KwaZulu-Natal, the then Zululand.
Let's also reflect on his role as an mobilizer for the Labour Federation, COSATU. At the time, of course, he was at some point, a shop steward for the Food and Allied Workers Union. Just talk to us and reflect to us particularly about that aspect.
But the part about that really being about mobilizing workers and the organized workers and the wider working class in support of the freedom struggle, which was not isolated from the overall struggle for national liberation and the ongoing and a continuing struggle towards economic emancipation for our people. Played a big part as an organizer, and all of those that went through the ranks of the trade union movement will always tell you that the best organizers come from the trade union history in the South African context. And so he played a very strong role there. Also played various other roles, also as an underground operative at a time when very few people could be vetted to be fit for purpose in respect of that. And so today marks that chapter where we close one chapter and open another, and the next one is about legacies. It's about what is it that the current generation of young people and of young leaders, what leaf can they take out of this life of sacrifice, because sacrifice is still needed more than ever before, as we say that towards the ideal of economic emancipation, economic justice, towards the ideal of freedoms, not just for me and you, but freedoms for everyone here and everywhere. That struggle continues, and it still requires young leaders and young people that have a level of conscientiousness that can indeed ensure that South Africa, that the dream of freedom is not deferred and is felt by everyone.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mahlengi Bhengu, who is the ANC national spokesperson there, reflecting on the life and times really of Ambassador Mthethwa. We do also have the Deputy Minister of Transport, who's also, the IFP national spokesperson, Mr. Mkhuleko Hlengwa. Just to perhaps start by Mr. Hlengwa reflecting on the life of Ambassador Mthethwa as this current leaders of the, various political parties. What can you learn from his life?
At the outset, we would really want to reiterate the condolences of President V.F. Hlabisa and the IFP to the Mthethwa and Mthelezi families and to the ANC on what really has been a shock and an untimely loss to the country, considering the long life of service that Unyambose had in the country. Maybe before I continue on a lighter note, of course, we used to tease him in the IFP because, as you know, he's married to Mabuthelezi, who's the niece to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So we used to call him Umkhwenyana, and he would say, Mkhuleko, angisi Umkhwenyana kunina, and so on. And that is the kind of relationship that we had. He was an easygoing man. He was accessible and was easy to interact with, and I think that will be one of the defining features of his legacy. And so we really are, as the IFP, conveying our condolences to the Mthethwa and Mthelezi families on the loss of a South African who dedicated his life to the service of the people and the country, and it's quite tragic that he made his end in the manner in which he did.
His track record in government, he served in various portfolios in government and also, serving particularly in the National Assembly at some point as the chief whip of the African National Congress. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think in that position, as brief as it was, he was still somebody who was making an effort to bring parties together, because there is a need for the chief whip of the majority parties to always sort of find coherence and take parties along on a common program of action at a political level for parliament. And in his short stint, he was able to actually do that. Secondly, of course, in the years in which he served as Minister of Safety and Security, then police, and then arts and culture and sports, arts and culture. History is yet to be written and for us to judge his legacy. And I think that during this time, it probably would not be opportune for us to be engaging and delving into that kind of debate. Sonke sizilile sihlela ngezansi to respect the family. It is, of course, a very difficult period, and we believe that now would not be the time. But what we are certain about is that this was a life dedicated to service. We had our differences, obviously, politically. We engaged in very robust debates in Parliament and outside Parliament, but all in the common purpose of strengthening our democracy and taking the country forward. The differences that we had don't divide us. That is the strength of a democracy, for it to actually work, and he has made a contribution in that regard. And of course, also venturing into the diplomatic corps, I can indicate that just recently Minister Chrissy, actually my Minister of Transport, had accompanied the Deputy President on a working visit to France, and she indicated that it was a fruitful visit, to giving testament to the fact that when he took on that role, he was able to put first the interests of South Africa in that position, given the fact that in also a short stint of time we were able to see heightened engagement between South Africa and France. And so we believe that he has laid a foundation for investment, for business and opportunity, so that we can be able to deal with the challenges here at home, particularly of economic growth, and ensuring that we create jobs, particularly for young people.
Appreciate your time, Mr. Hlengwa. Yeah, there is Mr. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, who is the Deputy Minister of Transport, also speaking, in his capacity as the IFP national spokesperson. Of course, earlier in the week, we saw a delegation coming through from the IFP visiting the home of Ambassador Mthethwa to offer their words of condolences. Of course, Mr. Hlengwa there saying that in as much as there were political differences, of course, them coming from different political parties, but of course that did not mean that they could not sit down and talk about those particular differences when it comes to the political arena. I'm stepping out of the shot again and asking my colleague Raymond Mbele to just give our viewers a sense of what is currently happening. You see there a group of police men and women who I suppose are going to be part of the proceedings here today. This, of course, being the official funeral category 2 as declared by the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. Coming out of that particular vehicle there, you see the Deputy Minister of Health also being among those coming here to mourn the passing or to basically send off Ambassador Mthethwa here at Dondota Sports Field. It's over to you in studio for now.